Hello everyone, it's Laura here and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video I'm gonna show you how to create a dimensional tag using stamps by Create a Smile Stamps. Create a Smile Stamps actually launched the challenge on their blog and Facebook group, and I have the absolute privilege of being part of their challenge design team. So I really wanted to celebrate this great news with filming a video for the project I created for the first challenge. The theme is Tag It, so I decided to create a tag, that was the straightforward choice. And I decided to use the Time to Say Thanks stamp set, which has these gorgeous leaves. And also I wanted to create kind of a rustic feel tag, so I decided to use Prismacolor pencils on craft cardstock. So this is Nina Desert Storm cardstock, and I stamped the images with VersaFine Onyx black ink, and now I am starting the coloring process. I decided to use greens to color the leaves, but I think that because of the design of these images, you can sort of have fun and color them in any color you like. But for this project I stayed, towards the more classical choice. And I decided to use two palettes of green, a brighter one that I'm using right here, and a more muted one towards the olive green type of tone that I'll be using later on, because I thought this would add even more interest to the tag. And when I work with Prismacolor pencils, I find that I achieve a nice contrast if I pick shades that are quite far apart. So my darker shadows are much darker than my highlight. Much more so than I would pick if I was working with Spectrum Noir markers, for example. And this way I am able to build dimension. And I also work in layers, so I start with a light hand and I lay down the colors, starting usually from the shadows and working my way up to the highlight, as you can see me doing here. And then I go back over and over the same areas and increase the pressure gradually until I get the blend that I'm going for. And before I leave you with some music to enjoy the rest of the coloring process, I wanted to let you know that you can find all the information and relevant links about the Create a Smile Stamps challenge over at my blog, which you will find linked in the description box down below. But basically there will be a new theme every 2 weeks, so you can upload your projects which have to follow the theme of the challenge and also feature one Create a Smile Stamps product as the main focal point of your projects, and you enter for a chance to win a 25 euros gift certificate to the Create a Smile Stamps store. But it's also just a lot of fun to play along challenges, and it's a great way to connect with the crafty community, which is so full of kind and amazing people. So I encourage you to, play along and have fun with us. Again, you will find all the information on my blog post, which will be linked in the description box down below. And now I will leave you with some music while I finish coloring these images, and I will catch you guys when it's time to assemble the tag. Once all the images were colored, I went ahead and cut them using my cutter bee scissors. And this time I decided not to leave any white edge, but to cut right along the black line. I also decided not to include the third leaf in the coloring process because the color palette is the same that I used for the first leaf, so the one that I am cutting right now, and I just didn't want this video to be too long. I created the base of my tag from some more Nina Desert Storm cardstock, and now I am playing with the positioning of the leaves until I find an arrangement that I like. To add a little bit more interest to the tag itself, I decided to add some white splatters, and there is something about white splatters on craft cardstock that I just like. So I thinned down some acrylic paint, I picked it up with a paintbrush, and now I am flicking the paintbrush over my tag to create these fine splatters. And while I set that aside to dry, I started working on my sentiment. I used the Happy Days stamp set by Create a Smile Stamps, and I picked the For You sentiment, which I am stamping with Versamark ink on some black cardstock because I want to do some embossing with white embossing powder. This one in particular is by Ranger. So I am coating the sentiment with it, and I'm using a paintbrush to remove any little stray particle of embossing powder that stuck where I didn't want it to be. And I'm using my heat gun, which is at this point nice and hot, to heat set the embossing powder. I cut the sentiment into a narrow strip that I'll be adhering to the tag itself. And at this point, while I was positioning the leaves, I saw that they were sticking up a little bit, and I thought it would be a lot of fun to sort of embrace this look and create more dimension on the tag. So I took my 3M foam tape, and I have two pieces. This one here, which is doubled up, so I have two layers of foam tape on top of each other, and I'll be adhering this to the top part of each of the leaves. And also I will be adhering a single layer of foam tape just behind that, or rather below that, for support so that the leaves don't flatten down too much. And finally, on the very bottom, I'll be adhering some glue. And these three levels of thickness, so the doubled up foam tape, the single layer of foam tape, and the part that will be glued directly to the tag, will create a lot of dimension, but at the same time, the leaves will be supported all the way. And here I'm using my Tombow Mono multi-glue to add a few dabs of glue to the bottom of the leaves. And I can go ahead, peel off the backing of the foam tape and start adhering the leaves. And actually I did this the wrong way around, so this leaf here should have been the last one I adhered. I should have started from the sentiment strip, then adhered this long leaf here, the central one, and then the bottom one. But yeah, I don't know why I did it this way. I guess I wasn't thinking very much at that point, but thankfully I did not press the leaves too firmly on the tag, so I was able to lift them and peel off the foam tape when I needed to, like you see me do here. And also I did not realize that the leaves would overlap and that this double layer of foam tape would be too much. But again, I was able to peel it off without ruining the project, and I added just one single layer of foam tape in its place. For the sentiment strip, I decided to only have it coming off the right side of the leaf, so I am checking the positioning now and marking off where it hangs off the left side so that I can trim that little piece off. And then I can go ahead and use my Tombow Mono multi-glue to adhere it flat to the tag. And I will also use my cutter bee scissors to trim off the excess. I also decided to add some embellishment with my Nuvo drops in white. And I am using some sequin by Pretty Being Posh to sort of act as placeholders so that I can play around with the arrangement, find one that I like, and then remove the sequin and add the Nuvo drops in its place. And at this point, the clever thing to do would be to put this aside to dry and just, thread your ribbon through, or your embroidery floss, as I'm doing, after the drops have dried. But I like to live dangerously, so it leads to disasters like this one, where I smeared the Nuvo drop. But thankfully I was able to recover from this mistake. So I just scraped off the product with craft knife, and then I came in with the mono eraser by Tombow to remove any excess product that I wasn't able to scrape off with the craft knife. And then I could add another Nuvo drop, and you know, nobody will ever know that I messed up. So that's pretty nice. And that's it for today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please let me know in the comments below, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. You can visit my blog for the full list of supplies, and I'll catch you guys soon with the next one. Ciao!